Have you ever felt stuck in a loop, facing those same challenges repeatedly without really knowing how to break free? What if I told you that the key to unlocking your potential and dramatically improving your life is already something that's within reach? Today, we're diving deep into the transformative power of therapy and how it can guide you to a healthier, happier, and a more fulfilled life. Welcome back to Mindful Chatting, the podcast where we explore real, authentic ways to nurture your mental health and emotional well-being. I'm your host, Kristen, and today's episode, we're uncovering the myriad benefits of therapy. It's not just a tool for crisis management, but a proactive force for profound personal growth. Whether you're contemplating therapy or you're already in your therapeutic journey, today's discussion will shine a light on how therapy can significantly enhance your mental health. Before we dive into this topic, if you're new here, I really want you to explore our Mindful Digest blog that goes into each of these topics on all of our episodes in way more depth. There's also Mindful Materials, which offers you free handouts and also ones to purchase that go over a lot of these topics that we discuss here today. And before we get into this big, broad topic, I want to talk about how therapy is one of those vital things that I think is overlooked or stigmatized. And the truth is that everybody faces those challenging times in our lives, and seeking therapy can actually be a proactive step towards understanding and managing your mental health. But let's be real, therapy is difficult. It's challenging and sometimes painful. If we can work through that painful process of growing, therapy is actually quite rewarding. It can be expansive and really enriching. And so I want to explore the numerous benefits of therapy and how it can be a transformative tool for enhancing your mental well-being. So let's first talk about emotional support and validation. We begin one of therapy's foundational elements, emotional support and validation. A therapist doesn't just hear you. They see you, and they provide a safe space where your feelings are not only heard, but deeply understood and validated. And this process is so crucial for building resilience and trust and empowering you to navigate all of life's complexities with confidence. But we need to talk about what is validation first. And validation is really the acknowledgement and acceptance of a person's feelings, thoughts, and experiences, and that we make them valid and understandable. And that therapeutic alliance really hones in on what validation is, and that makes you feel recognized and affirmed. But validation doesn't necessarily mean that we're always agreeing with or endorsing your feelings, but rather acknowledging your experience and making it real and significant. So validating statements in therapy could really look like, it makes sense that you feel this way, your feelings are completely understandable, I hear how important this is to you, it's okay to feel this way, and many would feel the same in your shoes. These statements can help you feel heard and supported, but this is super crucial for building that trust and openness that is needed in that therapeutic relationship. And validation will also build resiliency for you. If we're normalizing your emotional responses and reinforcing your ability to manage and express your emotions in healthy ways, then you understand that these emotions are normal and they're normal to your experiences. And so you're more likely to face and work through your challenges rather than suppress them or avoid them. And this emotional processing is really key to that psychological resilience that we need. But let's talk about first the difference between empathy and sympathy. And empathy is really the ability, especially within the therapeutic realm, of the therapist to sense and understand the emotions and experiences from your perspective. And it involves more than just really understanding what you feel. It's really about conveying this understanding back to you and sharing in that emotional experience to some extent. So I found this really good video on YouTube, and I'm going to put it in the description. I play this video for a lot of my clients, especially kids too, because it's this animated scene of where Brene Brown discusses the difference between empathy and sympathy. And I think it really describes the differences really well and breaks it down more simply than I could ever explain or show someone. And so if you haven't seen that video, I really would like you to look at it because it really explores how empathy involves experiencing another point of view, but sympathy involves feeling pity for someone else's hardship without necessarily understanding their emotional experience. And sympathy kind of creates disconnection where empathy creates connection. And it places that sympathizer in a position of superiority as like an outsider looking in, where an empathetic person places you within that experience so that you don't feel alone as you're going through it. And I think that's why empathy is really so important in building in therapy, because it builds not only that therapeutic reliance, but it helps build that emotional support and that guidance. And so you really understand what you're trying to say, and your therapist just gets it. And that helps the therapist better address your needs and assist you in that healing process. There's also a really good book that discusses therapy. It's called The Gift of Therapy, and I'm going to put a link to it in the show notes. It's by Irvin Yalom, and if you're interested in understanding your own psyche and you're contemplating therapy, this book really gives you a vivid storytelling and a compassionate approach about the therapeutic process. Yalom encourages readers to really reflect on their own lives and consider profound questions like meaning, morality, and living a fulfilling life. And this book is a really good tool for just personal incitement and growth, and I highly recommend it. There's also another podcast that we talked about if you're looking for a therapist, on how to find the right therapist for you. And the blog post is in the description in the show notes, but we also did a podcast episode on finding the right therapist. And that's the most recent one I just did. So that's episode 5. So if you're definitely interested in learning how to find a right therapist, that's a really good place to start. If you go to our website, I also have the Essential Guide to Finding the Right Therapist. It's a free handout to you, and it has a lot of self-reflection questions that are discussed in episode 5 that you can download to really figure out what kind of therapist you're looking for and what kind of therapeutic journey you'd like to go on. The next thing that therapy really gives you is this enhanced self-awareness. And therapy offers this kind of mirror to your mind and your soul, and it helps you understand your thoughts, your behaviors, and emotions on a more deeper level, fostering that personal growth and better decision making. And imagine gaining clarity that sparks a revolution in how you interact with the world and yourself, and that's what therapy can give you. But let's talk about what is self-awareness. And self-awareness is that ability to recognize and understand your own emotions, your thoughts, your behaviors, and how they influence your actions and relationships. And therapy really offers this honest evaluation of your strengths, weaknesses, your triggers, your patterns, and that just creates a foundation for your personal growth and adds to meaningful change for you. Why is this important? I think if you understand your emotions and you recognize what you feel, you are more likely to help manage them appropriately and more effectively. It'll help you make better decisions. So when you have a clear understanding of what your values and your priorities are, you tend to align your decisions with those choices. Self-awareness also improves relationships because it brings that awareness of your communication styles, it brings more awareness to your boundaries, provides more emotional triggers so that you can help effectively manage them, and that also enhances your ability to interact with other people. I think self-awareness encourages this ability to be accountable, and I think understanding your role in situations can help you take on responsibility and avoid blaming others for what's going on in your life. I also think that self-awareness really just facilitates personal growth. It allows you to kind of pinpoint areas that you need to improve on and then set goals for yourself to create some change that you're looking for. But how does therapy enhance this? Therapy offers this reflective dialogue. Usually therapists ask open-ended questions. They encourage introspection. What do you think this is causing this for you? How does the situation connect to any past experiences? Identifying patterns. Therapists help uncover reoccurring patterns in thoughts and behaviors like self-sabotage or avoidance, which is super important. And they also provide a lot of feedback. I think therapists provide, this objective feedback, highlighting things that you just may not notice about yourself, such as like defense mechanisms or even cognitive distortions in how you're thinking. Research in psychology consistently finds that self-awareness is critical for mental health and well-being. And there was actually a study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology that suggests that self-awareness is associated with increased happiness, lower anxiety, and depression levels. There's a couple tools that I always want everyone to walk away with, but apps that can help you journal or check in with yourself. Reflectly is one of them. Dailyo is another one. Journaling, I think, in general is super important when we write about your thoughts and your feelings and daily experiences. I think they just help you with building just that self-awareness. Prompts like, what made you feel this way today? Or what assumptions am I making? I think Clever Fox journals are extremely helpful in enriching your journaling experience. They offer weekly and daily journaling that can be useful with beginners or even the most experienced person. So I'll have a link in the show notes. I think Clever Fox planners just have this ability to really highlight a lot of different things. If you're looking for mindfulness-based practices, Brain FM is wonderful. Brain FM offers guided and non-guided meditation spaces to choose from, along with other moods that if you're looking for to get into, with music that is specifically designed to enhance brainwaves to reach that desired state for you. Also, there's a couple books that I really enjoy, like The Untethered Soul. It explores how self-awareness can lead to that inner freedom and peace. Also, there's a book called Insight by Tasha Eurich, which provides, practical research-based advice on how to cultivate self-awareness that I think is just super helpful. Therapy can also arm you with effective coping strategies to manage stress, anxiety, and depression. And these tools are really tailored to your unique circumstances, and they help provide you with skills to face these life challenges head on and transforming potential breakdowns into breakthroughs. So let's understand what coping strategies are. And coping strategies are techniques or methods that people use to really deal with stressful situations or emotional challenges. And these could look like cognitive, affective, really managing emotions, or behavioral. And the types of coping strategies that we use in therapy can help you with problem solving, emotional regulation, mindfulness, cognitive restructuring. And I think this is really important of why therapy is so beneficial, because it helps ultimately with your stress management. Because if you have proper coping mechanisms, you reduce that physical and psychological impact of stress. It helps you prevent mental health disorders. So adequate coping can prevent the development or an exacerbation of a mental health disorder. So even if you're doing well, sometimes just having that added benefit of therapy can really help with this preventative, proactive nature. Plus, it also enhances that resilience. So when you have strong coping skills, it improves your ability to bounce back when you have those setbacks. Numerous studies highlight the effectiveness of therapy in developing coping strategies. CBT, for instance, is well documented in its effectiveness. It helps with unhelpful thinking and behavior patterns, and that enhances the individual's ability to cope with those life situations. I talk about tools, and there's this anxiety and worry workbook, and I'll put a link in the description, that can be really helpful in learning coping strategies. And it's a practical guide that can help you fill with that cognitive strategies for dealing with anxiety. Therapy enhances your relationships, and by understanding your own emotional landscape, you can improve how you relate to others. Also, how you communicate with them and doing it more effectively. And you can help build those stronger, healthier connections with therapy. So how does therapy actually help you with understanding relationships? One, it can help you understand your attachment styles. Attachment styles is how we attach to another person. And, we have secure, anxious, avoidant, or disorganized. But understanding your own, or understanding your partner or the person you're having a relationship with, and how these attachment styles coexist or clash, can be really helpful in improving that relationship dynamic. Therapy can also help with communication habits. Sometimes identifying and modifying those problematic communication patterns like passive aggressiveness or avoidance can actually be really helpful in improvement in your relationships. And boundary setting. I cannot stress enough how boundary setting is so important. And therapy will help you learn how to set and respectfully set healthy boundaries. And that's essential for really any relationship that you have in life. Some techniques that therapy can help you with within this realm of relationships is role playing, conflict resolution training, emotional intelligence enhancement. This all matters because if we have good relationships, we have reduced stress, we have greater life satisfaction, we ultimately have better mental health. And research shows that therapy can actually lead to improvements in relationships by enhancing emotional communication and empathy. So, for example, EFT or emotionally focused therapy has been shown to particularly be effective in improving marital relationships and family dynamics. So, here's some tools that I always like to consider when it comes to enhancing relationships in general. So the Gottman card deck and the Lujnov app are really wonderful in enhancing communication and connection. And you can really use these card decks for really any type of relationship. Love Nudge is really for romantic relationships, but it just helps you build up that communication and how to effectively communicate with one another. There are two books that I always recommend. Hold Me Tight by Sue Johnson. It provides insight into developing those deeper connections with loved ones through emotional responsiveness and attachment theory. Dr. Sue Johnson is one of those EFT mastery people. So if you're really into emotional focused therapy, Hold Me Tight is a great book to start with. Another book is Attached by Amir Levine. This offers great insight into your own attachment style, but also gives you practical tips and strategies when you're working with different attachment styles, and also how to have a relationship when your attachment style is different, which I think a lot of attachment books miss in that part. I have done a podcast episode, and I also have another blog on this topic in particular about couples counseling. So I have two-part podcast episode. Episode 4 about couples counseling, and then also cultivating healthy relationships and strengthening connections. And these are really good if you want to go more in depth about how therapy can really help improve your relationships. Therapy can teach you how to dismantle the stressors of modern life, and that leads to improved physical and mental health. And so stress reduction is a huge thing that therapy can offer you. But let's understand stress in therapy. So in therapy, stress is often examined through various types of lenses. So we have the sources of stress, so identifying those specific external things like your job or your relationship. And then we have the internal pressures such as the perfectionism or that self-criticism. And then we have our stress responses. So understanding how one reacts to that stress, either physically, emotionally, or behaviorally, and that illuminates those patterns that exacerbate stress over time. And therapists are really good at being mirrors for you, of pointing out how you're responding to stress or how you're managing these sources of stresses in your life. Therapy can also offer you those therapeutic techniques for that stress reduction. So relaxation techniques, those mindfulness meditations, and also that cognitive restructuring that we talked about. Stress reduction is super important because ultimately improves your health. Chronic stress is linked to numerous health problems, including heart disease, diabetes, and depression. Ultimately enhances your emotional well-being. So lower stress levels contribute to better mood, higher level energy, and just overall life satisfaction. Plus, it increases your productivity because when you're managing stress effectively, you can concentrate better, you make better decisions, and then your job and performance just increases. And studies have shown that interventions like mindfulness-based stress reduction, or MBSR, and CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, are effective in reducing symptoms of stress, anxiety, and any kind of those related disorders. These therapies teach you practical skills to actually manage that stress and reduce its impact on your life. I also have another podcast episode, which I'll put in the description, episode 5 of Coping with Stress in this hectic world we have, And there's also a blog post about coping with stress too that you can go back to if you want to know more about this particular subject. If you are in therapy, you are already contributing to breaking that stigma around mental health. So great job, pat on the back, you're doing great. And sharing your journey can actually inspire other people to seek help. And that promotes this inclusive and empathetic society that I think we're all striving for. And how therapy really breaks that stigma is it creates this personal empowerment. Therapy empowers you to validate your experiences, promote this self-acceptance, and that counters that shame that's often associated with mental health issues. I think therapy offers a lot of education to people, and it just states, their communities about mental health, it debunks myths, it provides this accurate information. And then I think therapy provides this visibility by opening up discussions about our own experiences within therapy. And I think that normalizes individuals' mental health and helps inspire people to seek help and care. I think it's really important that we break this stigma because we want people to seek help. Reducing stigma makes it more likely that individuals will seek out that help. I think it improves treatment outcomes because if you're receiving support from your community and the people around you that therapy is good for you, you're more likely to do better in therapy. And again, we're all trying to have this inclusivity. And I think an environment with less stigma is just going to be more inclusive, and that supports diverse mental health experiences and those needs. I think if you're not in therapy and if you want to work on breaking this stigma in the mental health, the things that you can do is just really talking openly about your own experiences with mental health and therapy. I think correcting any misconceptions that you encounter is just a very good first step. And then if you know anybody who's in therapy, friend, families, coworkers, keep supporting them. Keep telling them that they're doing a great job and then they're slowly breaking the stigma for themselves. I don't think we talk enough about this, but therapy offers this confidential haven to heal from past traumas and navigate any grief that we have. And it's in this space about processing these experiences in a way that fosters this healing and resilience and that actually helps you move forward with strength. And I think that there's some key elements that really needs to be a part of creating a safe therapeutic environment. Confidentiality obviously is the very first one, because what happens in therapy stays in therapy and it stays private. And that builds that trust within you and that therapeutic relationship with that therapist. But therapists also have this non-judgmental stance that I think encourages this open communication and this honesty. And that reduces that fear of criticism or rejection that we might feel if we were to share this information with other people that we know. And we've already talked about empathy, but I think empathy is also a really important part of this safe therapeutic environment that we're trying to create. Why is this so important? Because if we need vulnerability to have healing, we have to have a safe space in order for that to happen. And this safe space facilitates this by allowing this emotional expression, and they can do it freely. We can process trauma, and safely discussing our traumatic events can diminish that psychological impact that they have on us over time. And it helps explore this self-concept, because I think individuals within a safe space can examine and reevaluate their beliefs that they've had about themselves that may be rooted in these past negative experiences, and they can work on restructuring and changing that. I always want to walk you away with tools. If you're interested in doing therapy and you have trauma, EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and also narrative therapy too, can be particularly effective in helping you process and heal from your trauma. I have a whole blog post on how EMDR for trauma, and it goes in a lot more detail, and I'll have a description of it in the notes. I'll also probably do a podcast episode later on just EMDR for trauma. If you're looking for more books or information about trauma within itself, The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk is a very good place to start. It explores the impact of trauma on the body and the mind, and it really offers these therapeutic techniques for effectiveness for healing that therapy can do for you. If you're in the mental health field, you know that goal setting is like one of the biggest things that they harp on us when they're training us, but I don't think clients know enough about it. And I think goal setting and that achievement is one of the biggest things that you can get from therapy, because it helps provide the motivation to really achieve the things that you want. And therapy can help you with personal, professional, or relationship oriented goals. It doesn't just always have to be inward goals that you create. But therapy can help you identify your priorities and set specific and measurable goals for you. It can help you develop an action plan. And all of these things are super important if you actually create goals and you want to accomplish things. SMART goals, they'll help you how to work through those, help you with motivational interviewing. Motivational interviewing is encouraging and it helps articulate your own motivations and help you resolve those ambivalences that can keep you kind of stuck in a loop if you're contemplating change. And I think therapy offers this like accountability buddy that we just don't really talk about, because you're regularly checking in during your sessions to review your progress and adjust your plans. And you're talking about the barriers that are stopping you from meeting these goals. And so checking in and having this accountability person really helps you keep motivation and help you keep going. And why does this even matter? Because if we have increased motivation and engagement, and we have clear goals, and that provides you a roadmap, and that keeps you motivated, and that thinks like, oh, I'm actually doing the things that I'm talking about. And that ultimately is going to help you with your personal growth and your self-improvement, because goals push you to develop skills and help you develop positive attitudes that really contribute to this long-term success that we're all trying to get. And then self-efficacy. Because if we're achieving goals, we're boosting confidence, we're reinforcing the beliefs that we're actually able to do the things that we say we do. If you are interested in this topic and diving in a little bit more, episode 1 and 2 talk about navigating a new year, or like a therapeutic approach to like if you want to start fresh with a new beginning. And episode 2 is about embracing those new beginnings and help self-improvement during transitions when you're going through change. And I also have blog posts, and I'll put that in descriptions too if you're interested in diving into this subject a little bit deeper. And the last thing, but definitely not the least, is improving your health, right? Therapy is a direct connection between mental and physical health. And by focusing on your mental well-being in therapy, you're likely to see improvements in also your physical health as well. There is a huge connection between mental and physical health, and that mind and body connection is linked, and stress and mental illness can manifest physically in several ways. Chronic pain is one of them. Stress and anxiety exacerbate chronic pain conditions. Heart health. There is well-documented link between stress, anxiety, depression, and increased risk of heart disease. And immune function, because if we have prolonged stress, that weakens our immune system, and that makes the body more susceptible to infections and disease. And so working on that mental health ultimately helps the rest of your body. So how does therapy do this? So therapy, again, addresses that stress management, which ultimately helps with chronic pain, anxiety, depression. But it helps with behavior modification, because therapy can help you change those unhealthy behaviors, like smoking or a poor diet, that are linked to these mental health issues. And I also think therapy provides this psychoeducational piece that we don't talk about enough, and understanding that impact of how your mental health on your physical health motivates you to take those proactive steps towards that holistic health. So looking at you as a whole picture. And there's plenty of studies that highlight the positive impact of mental health interventions on physical health. Research says that treatments for depression can lead to better management of chronic diseases such as diabetes and heart disease. If you are interested in knowing how mental health and physical health are influenced by one another, I do have a blog post discussing this called Strengthening the Mind-Body Connection, and I'll put a link in the description if you want to know more about this topic. As we wrap up today's episode, remember that therapy is not just for moments of crisis. It's a powerful tool for anyone looking to foster self-discovery, manage stress, improve relationships, and just generally enhance the quality of your life. If you're ready to take the first step or perhaps continuing your journey with renewed focus, remember, therapy is a gateway to a potentially transformative path. And I want to thank you for joining me today on Mindful Chatting. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights and share this episode with anyone who might find it helpful. But until next time, take care of your mind, take care of your heart, and nurture your soul. Please note that this podcast includes affiliate links, which means I may receive a commission if you make a purchase through these links at no extra cost to you. I only recommend products I truly believe in and use myself and will actually think benefit you. Your support helps keep this podcast running. Thanks.